In this chapter, we explore the delicate yet powerful journey of self-love as a pathway to growth and transformation. Imagine for a moment that you are standing at the edge of a vast field, the horizon stretching endlessly before you, filled with possibility. You have spent so much time focusing on others, adjusting to their expectations, seeking validation, and trying to fit into molds that were never truly yours. Now it is time to pause and turn inward. Loving yourself enough to level up does not mean arrogance. It does not mean ignoring the world around you. Chapter 1. From the very moment you wake up each day, your relationship with yourself sets the tone for everything you experience, and it is this relationship that determines whether you will rise or remain stagnant, whether you will honor your potential or settle for less than you deserve. Loving yourself enough to level up begins with awareness, the deep, courageous awareness of who you truly are beneath the masks, the expectations, and the doubts that have been layered onto you over the years. Imagine standing in front of a mirror and not just seeing your reflection, but truly seeing yourself, the person you are right now, with all your imperfections, your fears, your insecurities, and yet also with all your untapped potential, your creativity, your resilience, your capacity for joy and growth. To level up, you must first recognize that you are a work in progress, that your current self is not a failure, but a foundation upon which greatness can be built, and that every choice you make today will either nourish or neglect the life you are meant to lead. Many people spend their lives seeking approval, trying to meet other people's expectations, adjusting themselves to fit into boxes that were never meant for them, believing that external validation will fill the emptiness inside. But this is a trap, a cycle that steals your energy and your dreams, because no one can love you as deeply or as consistently as you can love yourself. Loving yourself means giving yourself permission to prioritize your growth, to invest your time, energy, and focus into the life you envision, even when it feels uncomfortable or when the world around you questions your choices. It means understanding that self-respect is not selfish, that putting your needs first is not arrogance, but a necessary act of preservation and empowerment, and that when you honor yourself, you naturally attract people, opportunities, and experiences that align with your highest good. Consider the areas of your life where you have allowed fear, doubt, or guilt to dictate your decisions. The moments when you held back, when you settled, when you ignored your own desires in order to please others. And realize that every moment is an opportunity for a shift, a conscious choice to turn inward, to reconnect with your values, your dreams, and your worth. The journey to self-love begins with small, deliberate acts, pausing to notice your thoughts, to question the narratives that tell you that you are not enough, to replace self-criticism with compassion, to celebrate even the smallest victories and progress you make along the way. Loving yourself enough to level up also requires a commitment to growth that is steady and patient, because transformation rarely happens overnight. It is a series of small, consistent decisions, repeated daily, that compound over time into meaningful change. Every time you choose to honor your intuition, to speak your truth, to act in alignment with your values, you strengthen your self-trust and expand your capacity to handle challenges, setbacks, and opportunities alike. Visualize the life you desire in vivid detail, the career, the relationships, the experiences, and the personal qualities you wish to embody, and then turn that vision into action by aligning your daily habits with it. Self-love is not passive, it is active, intentional, and sometimes radical. It is the courage to say no to what drains you, no to relationships and circumstances that diminish your energy, and yes to possibilities that excite and challenge you, even when it feels risky. It is also the commitment to forgive yourself for past mistakes, to release guilt and resentment, and to recognize that every misstep is a lesson, not a condemnation, and that the wisdom gained from experience is one of the most powerful tools for growth. Loving yourself allows consistently investing in your body, mind, and soul through practices that nurture your energy, expand your perspective, and strengthen your resilience, whether that be through movement, meditation, journaling, learning, or simply taking the time to rest and recharge. The power of self-love lies not only in how it transforms your inner world, but in how it radiates outward, influencing your relationships, your decisions, and the opportunities that come to you. Because when you value yourself, the world begins to mirror that value back. As you embark on this journey, understand that it will not always be easy, that resistance, doubt, and fear are natural companions, but each time you show up for yourself, each time you choose growth over comfort, courage over avoidance, and self-respect over conformity, you take one step closer to becoming the person you were always meant to be. This chapter is your invitation to begin, right now, in this moment, to embrace the practice of self-awareness, to honor your needs, to celebrate your potential, and to commit to loving yourself enough to level up. Because the life you desire, the version of yourself that you dream of becoming, exists not in some distant future, but in the choices you make today, and the love you give yourself along the way will be the fuel that carries you forward. Chapter 2, Self-Awareness, is the bridge that connects where you are today to the life you are capable of creating tomorrow, and it is the first, most essential step in loving yourself enough to level up. Because until you truly see the patterns, thoughts, and beliefs that shape your daily choices, you remain at the mercy of unconscious habits and external expectations, drifting through life without intention or direction. Imagine pausing for a moment and looking deeply into your own mind, observing not only the surface thoughts that flit across each day, but also the deeper currents that drive your emotions, your decisions, and your reactions to the world around you. These currents, your fears, insecurities, self-doubts, and limiting beliefs, often operate silently, influencing your life more than you realize. But when you shine the light of awareness on them, you gain the power to change them, to replace what no longer serves you with beliefs, habits, and perspectives that elevate your life rather than diminish it. Self-awareness requires courage, because it often involves confronting truths that are uncomfortable. The times you have chosen convenience over growth, the moments when fear held you back, the ways in which you have allowed external validation to dictate your worth. But it is precisely in this confrontation that transformation begins. To level up, you must learn to notice the recurring patterns that keep you small, to identify the triggers that provoke anxiety, anger, or self-doubt, and to acknowledge the stories you tell yourself that reinforce limitation, because only when these patterns are seen can they be shifted, rewired, and ultimately replaced with thoughts that empower rather than imprison you. This chapter is about embracing that inner detective work, observing yourself with compassion rather than judgment, and recognizing that self-awareness is not a one-time discovery but a lifelong practice, a daily commitment to check in with your mind, heart, and actions to ensure they are aligned with your highest values and your deepest aspirations. Consider the moments when you feel stuck or frustrated and ask yourself why. What belief, what fear, what habitual thought is keeping you from acting in alignment with your goals? By asking these questions and honestly exploring the answers, you cultivate clarity, the clarity that allows you to make conscious choices instead of reacting impulsively or out of old conditioning. Self-awareness also reveals the richness of your strengths, talents, and resources that you may have overlooked, undervalued, or dismissed, reminding you that you already possess the foundation for growth within yourself, and that the process from someone up is as much about recognizing your potential as it is about addressing your limitations. Loving yourself enough to develop self-awareness is an act of radical empowerment, because it signals that you are willing to take responsibility for your life, to step out of victimhood, and to embrace accountability for your thoughts, actions, and outcomes. It means understanding that your mind is both a garden and a tool. The more intentionally you cultivate it, the more abundant and fruitful your life becomes, because awareness allows you to prune negative patterns, plant empowering beliefs, and nurture habits that lead to success, fulfillment, and joy. Every moment of self-reflection, every pause to question your automatic reactions, every insight gained from honest introspection builds your self-trust and strengthens the internal compass that guides you toward meaningful growth. Self-awareness is also the key to emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize and regulate your emotions, empathize with others, and navigate relationships with authenticity and clarity. Because when you understand yourself, you understand the way you respond to the world, and this understanding transforms both your internal experience and your external interactions. Imagine a life in which you are fully conscious of your motivations, your desires, your fears, and your habitual responses. A life in which every choice is intentional, aligned with your vision, and reflective of your values. This is the life that self-awareness makes possible, and it is the foundation upon which you build the confidence, resilience, and clarity required to level up. The journey to self-awareness is not always comfortable. It demands honesty, patience, and persistence, but the rewards are immeasurable: clarity in decision-making, liberation from limiting beliefs, and a deep, abiding trust in yourself and your ability to navigate any circumstance. By committing to this practice, by consistently observing, questioning, and refining your thoughts and actions, you set yourself on a trajectory of growth that cannot be derailed by external noise, setbacks, or doubt, because you have learned to rely on the guidance that comes from within. This chapter is an invitation to begin, or to deepen, your practice of self-awareness, to turn your attention inward with courage and compassion, to illuminate the hidden corners of your mind and heart, and to embrace the truth that every insight, every moment of reflection, every conscious choice is a step toward leveling up, toward becoming the person you were always meant to be, and toward living a life that reflects not just your potential, but your self-respect, your dignity, and your unwavering commitment to honor yourself in every thought, action, and intention. Chapter 3. The decisions you make every single day are the quiet architects of your life, shaping your trajectory, defining your worth, and determining whether you rise to the person you are capable of becoming or remain trapped by circumstance and complacency. And loving yourself enough to level up means learning to make choices that honor your growth, your potential, and your vision, even when those choices are uncomfortable or unpopular. Every yes and every no carries weight, whether obvious or subtle, and when you consistently choose what aligns with your values, rather than what seeks to appease others or avoid discomfort, you reinforce the habit of self-respect and empowerment. Imagine for a moment that each decision is a vote for the life you want to live, and every time you sacrifice your energy, compromise your integrity, or settle for less than you deserve, you are casting a vote for limitation, stagnation, or mediocrity. But when you choose consciously, courageously, and intentionally, you build momentum that carries you toward your highest potential. Leveling up requires understanding that saying no is not rejection or selfishness. It is protection of your energy, your dreams, and your emotional well-being. And it is essential to recognize that boundaries are not walls that isolate you, but bridges that guide you toward environments, relationships, and opportunities that nurture your growth. Each decision to protect your time, to invest in your health, to pursue your goals, and to align your actions with your inner truth is a declaration of self-love, and the cumulative effect of these choices is transformative, because consistent alignment with your values strengthens confidence, resilience, and clarity, making it easier to navigate challenges, setbacks, and uncertainty with grace and courage. In contrast, neglecting these choices, yielding to fear, laziness, or external pressure, slowly erodes self-esteem, blurs purpose, and diminishes the life you are capable of building, because the power of small, repeated decisions cannot be underestimated. They are the fabric from which your reality is woven, and each thread matters. To love yourself enough to level up, you must cultivate the ability to discern which opportunities and commitments serve your highest good, and which do not. And this discernment often requires reflection, patience, and a willingness to listen to your intuition, because your inner guidance is the most reliable compass for making decisions that expand your life rather than restrict it. Consider the ways you have allowed other people's expectations, societal norms, or fear of judgment to dictate your choices. How many times have you said yes when your heart whispered no, or avoided pursuing a dream because it felt risky or unconventional? Each of these moments is a lesson, a reminder that your commitment to yourself must come first if you wish to truly level up, because without prioritizing your growth and alignment, external pressures will continuously steer you away from your potential. Every decision that prioritizes your self-respect, your values, and your vision becomes a building block in the foundation of the life you want to create, reinforcing the truth that growth is cumulative, not instantaneous, and that consistent, conscious choices are what separate those who live fully from those who drift aimlessly. Loving yourself enough to make these decisions also requires courage, because choosing growth often involves discomfort, confrontation, or the breaking of old patterns and relationships that no longer serve you. And yet it is precisely this courage that strengthens self-trust, resilience, and clarity, reminding you that you are capable of navigating uncertainty while remaining aligned with your highest purpose. Every time you choose what is best for your growth over what is convenient or expected, you are effectively sending a message to yourself and the universe that you are worthy of investment, that your life is valuable, and that your dreams matter. It is important to remember that decision making is not just about monumental choices, it is about the small, everyday decisions. The commitments you keep to yourself, the habits you cultivate, the way you allocate your time and energy, and the way you speak to yourself and others, that collectively define your growth and trajectory. By consistently choosing alignment over avoidance, courage over fear, and self-respect over compromise, you create a life of integrity, momentum, and purpose, and in doing so, you demonstrate the deepest form of self-love, honoring yourself enough to make choices that reflect your worth, nurture your potential, and propel you forward toward the life you were meant to live. This chapter is an invitation to reflect on your decisions, to recognize the power you hold in each choice, and to commit to exercising that power with intention, wisdom, and courage, understanding that the journey to level up is composed of thousands of small, deliberate actions, each one contributing to the transformation of your life, your mindset, and your sense of self, and that by consistently choosing in alignment with your values, you are not only shaping your future, but also honoring your present, asserting your worth, and claiming the life you are capable of living. Chapter 4: Fear is one of the most powerful forces that can either hold you back or propel you forward, and learning to navigate it is essential to loving yourself enough to level up, because fear is not an enemy to be eliminated, but a signal to be understood, a compass that points to areas where growth, courage, and transformation are waiting. And the moment you begin to perceive fear in this way, it loses its ability to control you and instead becomes a teacher, guiding you toward your highest potential. Consider how often fear has dictated your choices, how many times it has whispered that you are not ready, that the risk is too great, that failure is inevitable, and how frequently those whispers have kept you from pursuing opportunities, speaking your truth, or stepping fully into your purpose. Now imagine turning those whispers into a dialogue, a conversation in which you acknowledge the fear, honor its presence, and then choose to act anyway, because courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward despite it. To level up, you must recognize that fear often arises at the edge of comfort and safety, in moments that demand growth, and that the discomfort you feel is not a warning to stop, but an invitation to rise, to expand, and to evolve beyond the limitations you have previously imposed on yourself. Loving yourself enough to face fear requires self-trust, patience, and a commitment to your own development, because it is only when you trust your inner strength and the process of life that you can take bold actions even when the outcome is uncertain, and each time you do, you reinforce the truth that you are capable, resilient, and worthy of the success, happiness, and fulfillment you desire. Fear often disguises itself as caution, procrastination, or overthinking, and many people allow it to keep them small, waiting for permission from the world or for conditions that may never arrive. But the path to leveling up demands that you distinguish between fear that protects you from real danger and fear that limits your growth, that keeps you anchored in the familiar while the extraordinary waits just beyond your comfort zone. Every time you choose to act in spite of fear, you expand your capacity for confidence, resilience, and self-mastery, and the compound effect of these moments transforms not only your life, but also the way you perceive challenges, setbacks, and opportunities, because you begin to see that fear is not a stop sign, but a signal that you are on the right path, that you are stretching into something greater than you were yesterday. Loving yourself enough to level up also involves embracing the lessons embedded in fear, recognizing that each experience, whether it results in immediate success or temporary failure, carries wisdom that strengthens your judgment, sharpens your instincts, and deepens your understanding of your own potential. It requires cultivating a mindset in which fear is acknowledged without judgment, processed without avoidance, and integrated into your journey as a natural and essential companion rather than a hindrance. Because the most courageous people are not those who never feel fear, but those who consistently act in alignment with their purpose regardless of it. To face fear effectively, you must also develop resilience, the ability to recover from setbacks, to adapt when plans shift, and to persevere when the path becomes challenging, because the act of leveling up is rarely linear. It involves trial, error, adjustment, and continual learning, and fear, when met with awareness and action, becomes a catalyst rather than a barrier. Imagine the person you will become when fear no longer dictates your choices, when hesitation is replaced with confidence, and when every step forward, no matter how small, reinforces your belief in your own strength and worth. This is the power of embracing fear as a teacher and ally. Every time you acknowledge fear, take a step forward, and honor your capacity to rise above it, you are actively choosing yourself, your growth, and your potential over stagnation, self-doubt, and limitation. And this practice, repeated consistently, builds an unshakable foundation of self-love, courage, and personal power. This chapter is an invitation to reframe your relationship with fear, to understand it as a signal pointing toward growth rather than a warning to retreat, and to commit to facing it with honesty, courage, and self-compassion, recognizing that each act of bravery, each moment of stepping into the unknown, and each choice to move forward in spite of fear, strengthens your resilience, expands your potential, and brings you closer to the life you are capable of living, because to truly love yourself enough to level up is to trust your inner strength, honor your vision, and consistently take courageous steps toward becoming the person you were always meant to be. Chapter 5: Gratitude is one of the most transformative practices you can cultivate on your journey to loving yourself enough to level up, because it changes the way you perceive the world, the way you engage with your experiences, and the way you respond to challenges, opportunities, and even setbacks. And when you embrace gratitude as a daily habit, you are training your mind to focus on abundance rather than lack, possibility rather than limitation, and growth rather than stagnation. To fully understand the power of gratitude, imagine for a moment that your life is a canvas and that every experience, every relationship, every struggle, and every triumph contributes to the masterpiece of your existence. When you choose to focus on what you appreciate, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, you add richness, depth, and vibrancy to that canvas, and in doing so, you strengthen your sense of self-worth, your resilience, and your ability to navigate life with clarity and purpose. Many people overlook gratitude, seeing it as something that can only be felt in moments of grand achievement. But the truth is that gratitude is most powerful when it is cultivated consistently in the ordinary, in the everyday moments that often go unnoticed. The breath you take, the warmth of sunlight, the kindness of a stranger, the lessons hidden within challenges, and even the obstacles that push you to grow. By acknowledging and appreciating these aspects of life, you shift your attention from what is missing to what is already present, creating a mindset that naturally supports growth and self-love. Loving yourself enough to practice gratitude means recognizing your own efforts, your resilience, and your progress, even when it feels like others do not see or acknowledge it, because self-validation is the cornerstone of emotional empowerment. And when you learn to honor and appreciate your own journey, you free yourself from dependence on external approval or validation. Gratitude also fosters perspective, allowing you to see setbacks not as failures, but as opportunities for growth and redirection, as moments that teach you lessons, reveal your strength, and prepare you for greater success. When you adopt this perspective, challenges no longer intimidate you, and fear loses much of its power, because you understand that every experience, positive or negative, contributes to the development of your character, your wisdom, and your ability to level up in meaningful ways. Practicing gratitude creates a positive feedback loop, because the more you focus on what you appreciate, the more your mind begins to seek out other reasons for appreciation, cultivating optimism, hope, and a sense of empowerment that fuels action and progress. Imagine beginning each day by acknowledging even one thing you are grateful for, whether it is your health, your family, your talents, or your ability to learn and grow. Now imagine extending that practice throughout your day, pausing to notice moments of beauty, kindness, and growth, and taking deliberate time to express thanks, whether silently through journaling or in interaction with others. Over time, this practice rewires your brain to focus on positivity, abundance, and self-empowerment, reinforcing your commitment to your own growth and your journey toward leveling up. Gratitude is also deeply connected to emotional resilience, because it allows you to hold space for difficulties without being overwhelmed by them, to recognize that even in struggle there are lessons, opportunities, and hidden blessings, and to maintain faith in your ability to overcome, adapt, and thrive. When gratitude becomes a habit, it strengthens your capacity to respond to challenges with grace, to see the potential in setbacks, and to maintain focus on long-term goals rather than short-term discomfort. Furthermore, gratitude enhances your relationships, because when you appreciate the people in your life and express that appreciation authentically, you strengthen bonds, foster trust, and create an environment of mutual support and positivity, which in turn supports your own growth and sense of well-being, demonstrating that self-love is not isolated, but connected to the energy and interactions you cultivate with the world around you. Loving yourself enough to practice gratitude also means extending that appreciation inward, acknowledging your own progress, your effort, and your courage even when external recognition is absent, and recognizing that your journey is unique, valuable, and worthy of celebration. This internal recognition strengthens self-esteem, reinforces positive behavior, and motivates you to continue taking actions that align with your vision and purpose. This chapter is an invitation to intentionally cultivate gratitude as a daily practice, to see life through the lens of appreciation, to honor your own journey and the lessons it brings, and to recognize that each moment of acknowledgement, each act of appreciation, and each pause to reflect on the positive aspects of your life is an act of self-love, a reinforcement of your worth, and a step toward leveling up. Because when you consistently focus on what you have, rather than what you lack, you create a mindset that supports growth, resilience, empowerment, and the realization that you are fully capable of creating the life you desire and deserve. Chapter 6: Your habits are the invisible architecture of your life, quietly shaping your thoughts, actions, and results. And understanding their power is essential to loving yourself enough to level up, because the small, consistent choices you make each day, what you eat, how you spend your time, the way you think, the way you respond to challenges, compound over time to create either a life of growth, abundance, and fulfillment, or a life of limitation, frustration, and unfulfilled potential. And the moment you take ownership of your habits, you begin to reclaim control over your destiny. Imagine for a moment that every habit, no matter how small, is a vote for the person you are becoming. Each action either reinforces the identity you want to cultivate or perpetuates the limitations you wish to overcome. And the true power of this understanding lies in recognizing that transformation is not necessarily about dramatic, overnight changes, but about consistent, intentional alignment between your daily behaviors and your highest aspirations. To level up, you must first identify the habits that serve you and those that hinder you, because awareness is the foundation of change. Habits such as procrastination, negative self-talk, overindulgence, or distraction may feel harmless in the moment, but over time, they accumulate into significant barriers that block your progress, diminish your self-confidence, and erode your sense of purpose. Whereas habits that nourish your mind, body, and spirit, exercise, reflection, learning, mindfulness, healthy nutrition, deliberate rest, create momentum that propels you toward your goals and strengthens your self-respect. Loving yourself enough to cultivate empowering habits means committing to small, sustainable actions that align with your vision, understanding that consistency is far more important than intensity, because the compounding effect of daily discipline produces far greater results than sporadic bursts of effort. And it is in this consistency that true transformation is born. Consider the way your habits influence your emotional and mental state. The more intentional and aligned they are, the more your energy, focus, and resilience increase, creating a feedback loop that reinforces confidence, motivation, and clarity. Conversely, neglecting your habits or allowing them to be dictated by convenience, laziness, or external pressures weakens your momentum, fosters self-doubt, and slows the realization of your potential. Developing empowering habits requires patience, persistence, and self-compassion. Because change is rarely linear, there will be moments of resistance, relapse, or discouragement. But each small effort, each choice to realign with your values, and each step forward strengthens your ability to persevere. And over time, these efforts accumulate into profound transformation, both internally and externally. Habits also influence your identity, because the repeated actions you take become the foundation of how you see yourself and how the world perceives you. By consistently choosing behaviors that reflect your values and goals, you reinforce the belief that you are capable, disciplined, and worthy of growth, which in turn motivates further action, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of positive development. Loving yourself enough to intentionally design your habits means embracing accountability, tracking progress, and making adjustments when necessary, while also forgiving yourself when you stumble, because perfection is not the goal, progress is, and each conscious effort contributes to the trajectory of your life in meaningful ways. Visualize the life you want, the health, the relationships, the success, and the personal qualities you aspire to embody, and then identify the daily habits that align with that vision. When you consistently implement these habits, you are not just taking actions. You are reshaping your identity, training your mind and body to operate at higher levels, and signaling to yourself and the universe that you are committed to growth and excellence. The power of habits extends beyond productivity or achievement. It shapes your mindset, your emotional resilience, your ability to navigate setbacks, and your sense of self-worth. Because when you consistently act in alignment with your highest values, you reinforce the belief that you are capable, deserving, and prepared to embrace greater opportunities and challenges. This chapter is an invitation to examine your routines, to identify which behaviors are propelling you forward and which are holding you back, and to make deliberate choices that reflect your commitment to yourself, your vision, and your potential, understanding that each small, repeated action is a step toward leveling up, toward embodying the person you aspire to be, and toward living a life that reflects not just your goals, but your self-respect, your discipline, and your unwavering dedication to growth, because in the end, the habits you cultivate are the most powerful expression of how much you truly love yourself. Chapter 7. The people you surround yourself with are one of the most influential factors in your journey to loving yourself enough to level up, because your environment, your relationships, and the energy of those around you can either uplift, inspire, and accelerate your growth, or drain, distract, and limit your potential. And understanding this is crucial to creating a life of alignment, purpose, and empowerment, as your circle often reflects the quality of yourself, respect, and the level of vision you hold for yourself. Imagine for a moment that every interaction you have, every relationship you maintain, and every energy exchange you participate in acts like a mirror, reflecting back your beliefs, reinforcing your habits, and shaping your mindset. When the people around you embody positivity, discipline, ambition, and encouragement, their energy becomes contagious. Their example motivates you, and their support strengthens your confidence, resilience, and clarity, making it easier to pursue your goals and honor your commitments to yourself. On the other hand, if your environment is filled with negativity, criticism, complacency, or energy that discourages growth, it becomes much harder to maintain momentum, focus, and belief in your own potential, because human beings are naturally influenced by the energy they absorb, and constant exposure to toxic or draining influences can quietly erode self-esteem, reinforce doubt, and undermine the habits and mindset necessary for leveling up. Loving yourself enough to cultivate a supportive environment means taking an honest inventory of your relationships, assessing who genuinely uplifts and challenges you in meaningful ways, and who consistently depletes your energy, distracts you from your purpose, or discourages your ambitions, and then making intentional decisions to nurture the relationships that serve your growth while creating healthy boundaries or distance from those that do not. It requires courage to let go of relationships that no longer align with your values or your vision, because even when they are familiar or comfortable, clinging to what diminishes your energy comes at a high cost. But choosing alignment over convenience is a declaration of self-respect, a tangible expression of your commitment to your own growth, and a critical step toward leveling up. Surrounding yourself with supportive energy is not only about removing negativity, but also about actively seeking connections that challenge, inspire, and expand your perspective. Because growth is accelerated when you engage with people who hold you accountable, who push you beyond your comfort zone, who encourage your ambitions, and who celebrate your victories genuinely, without jealousy or reservation. When you immerse yourself in such an environment, you begin to internalize the standards, beliefs, and habits of those who exemplify the life you aspire to create, and this modeling becomes a powerful tool for your own transformation, as you naturally adopt practices, mindsets, and behaviors that reflect the level of excellence you wish to achieve. Loving yourself enough to curate your social and professional circles also involves protecting your emotional and mental energy by setting clear boundaries, communicating openly, and being willing to walk away from relationships that consistently undermine your well-being, because your time and energy are finite resources, and every moment spent in environments that do not support your growth is a moment that could have been invested in alignment, learning, and personal advancement. Consider how often people tolerate relationships out of fear of confrontation, guilt, or obligation, only to find themselves exhausted, frustrated, and unable to maintain the focus necessary for personal growth. And now imagine replacing those interactions with relationships built on mutual respect, shared ambition, encouragement, and authenticity, where support flows both ways, accountability is embraced, and the energy exchange fuels rather than drains you. This is the type of environment that accelerates your journey toward leveling up. Loving yourself enough to prioritize supportive connections also extends to mentorship and learning from individuals who have walked the path before you, who have faced challenges, and who can provide guidance, wisdom, and perspective that would otherwise take years to acquire on your own, because growth is rarely achieved in isolation, and the insights gained from those who have succeeded can shortcut the process, help you avoid unnecessary pitfalls, and inspire confidence in your own ability to rise. Ultimately, surrounding yourself with positive, aligned, and motivating people is a reflection of the value you place on yourself, because the energy you tolerate, the relationships you maintain, and the support you cultivate communicate clearly to both your mind and the universe how much you believe in your own potential. This chapter is an invitation to consciously evaluate your environment, to invest your time and energy in relationships that uplift and challenge you, to set boundaries with those that drain or discourage you, and to actively seek connections that foster accountability, growth, and inspiration, understanding that the quality of your relationships directly impacts your mindset, your habits, your resilience, and your ability to level up. Because when you surround yourself with people who reflect your highest potential, you not only accelerate your journey, but you reinforce the message that you are worthy, capable, and fully committed to becoming the person you were always meant to be. Chapter 8: Failure is often misunderstood as the opposite of success, as a sign of inadequacy or weakness. But to truly love yourself enough to level up, you must reframe failure as an essential, invaluable teacher, a necessary stepping stone on the path of growth, and a mirror that reflects what needs attention, adjustment, and courage, because every setback, mistake, or disappointment contains lessons that propel you forward rather than hold you back. And the moment you embrace this perspective, fear of failure loses its power to paralyze you and becomes a catalyst for transformation. Imagine the times in your life when things did not go according to plan, when efforts fell short or outcomes disappointed, and consider that within each of these moments lies an opportunity for insight, for recalibration, and for developing resilience that no victory alone could teach. It is in these moments of struggle that character is forged, self-awareness deepened, and problem-solving skills sharpened, because the experience of failing challenges you to confront limitations, adapt strategies, and develop the mindset necessary to rise stronger, wiser, and more prepared than before. To level up, you must cultivate the ability to detach your self-worth from your performance, understanding that mistakes do not define your value, but rather illuminate areas for growth, and that the courage to persist despite setbacks is one of the most powerful demonstrations of self-love and personal strength. Loving yourself enough to embrace failure means viewing it not as an endpoint, but as feedback, as information about what works, what does not, and what adjustments are required to continue progressing toward your goals. And each lesson learned from failure equips you with the clarity, resilience, and insight to make better choices in the future, transforming what once felt like defeat into the foundation for greater achievement. Failure also teaches humility, empathy, and patience, because it reminds you that growth is a process, that perfection is an illusion, and that every individual encounters obstacles on the path to success. And when you internalize this truth, you cultivate a mindset that is compassionate toward yourself and others, recognizing that setbacks are part of the journey rather than a reason to give up. To truly level up, it is essential to take calculated risks, to step beyond comfort zones, and to act despite uncertainty, knowing that failure may be inevitable at times, but that action in the face of fear is what separates those who grow from those who remain stagnant, and each courageous step builds momentum, confidence, and mastery over self-doubt, reinforcing your ability to navigate challenges with grace and persistence. Loving yourself enough to confront failure also involves reflection and accountability, examining what led to a setback without judgment, extracting lessons, and implementing strategies that increase your chances of success, while maintaining faith in your ability to overcome future obstacles, because self-responsibility paired with compassion creates a powerful engine for personal growth. Furthermore, failure illuminates the strengths and resilience you may have overlooked, because surviving, learning, and adapting through difficult experiences reveals a capacity for courage, determination, and creativity that often lies dormant until tested by adversity, and recognizing these qualities strengthens your belief in your ability to navigate the unknown, embrace challenges, and pursue ambitious goals. Every failure you encounter is an invitation to develop grit, resourcefulness, and confidence, qualities that cannot be cultivated in comfort alone, and each time you rise from a setback with renewed clarity and purpose, you reinforce your commitment to yourself and to the life you are capable of building, demonstrating that you are willing to face discomfort, endure uncertainty, and persist through difficulty to achieve meaningful growth and fulfillment. This chapter is an encouragement to redefine failure as feedback, to embrace mistakes as opportunities to learn, adapt, and evolve, and to develop a resilient mindset that views setbacks as necessary elements of progress, understanding that the process of leveling up is inherently iterative, requiring persistence, self-compassion, and courage, and that every challenge overcome strengthens not only your capabilities, but also your confidence, your wisdom, and your belief in your potential, because true self-love involves trusting your journey, honoring your growth, and embracing every experience, success or failure, as a stepping stone toward becoming the person you are meant to be, capable of achieving the life you desire and deserve. Chapter 8: Discipline is the bridge between your goals and your reality, and understanding its role is essential to loving yourself enough to level up. Because without the consistent practice of self-control, commitment, and focused effort, even the clearest vision and strongest desire will remain unrealized, and it is through disciplined action that dreams are transformed into tangible outcomes, habits are solidified, and self-respect is reinforced, creating a foundation for sustainable growth and empowerment. Discipline is not about rigidity or deprivation. It is about honoring your long-term vision over momentary impulses, making choices that align with your values and aspirations, even when they require sacrifice, discomfort, or delayed gratification, because the life you desire is built on repeated, intentional actions rather than fleeting moments of motivation or convenience. Consider the ways in which lack of discipline has held you back: missed opportunities, unfinished projects, distractions, or inconsistent effort, and contrast that with the potential unlocked when you commit to daily practices, routines, and behaviors that move you steadily toward your goals. It is this consistency, not occasional bursts of effort, that compounds over time into meaningful transformation. Loving yourself enough to cultivate discipline means recognizing the value of your time, energy, and resources, understanding that every decision you make either supports or detracts from your growth, and choosing to act in alignment with your highest priorities, even when it is challenging, uncomfortable, or requires resisting immediate gratification for long-term benefit. Discipline also reinforces self-trust, because each time you follow through on a commitment to yourself, you strengthen your belief in your own reliability, integrity, and capability. And over time, this internal trust becomes a powerful motivator that sustains action even when external circumstances are difficult, distractions are tempting, or confidence wavers. To level up, discipline must be paired with clarity and intentionality, because effort without direction can become wasted energy, while focused, deliberate practice magnifies results, enhances skill development, and ensures that each step taken contributes meaningfully to your progress, reinforcing the connection between action and outcome. Loving yourself enough to embrace discipline also involves structuring your environment, routines, and habits in ways that support consistent action, removing distractions, setting boundaries, and creating systems that make it easier to act in alignment with your goals. Because when your environment is aligned with your intentions, discipline becomes less about willpower and more about momentum. Discipline is not static, it requires adaptability, reflection, and learning, because challenges, setbacks, and unexpected circumstances will inevitably arise, and the ability to remain committed, adjust strategies, and persist in the face of adversity is what separates those who achieve their potential from those who falter. Imagine a life in which your goals are not constantly postponed, where your energy is consistently directed toward what matters most, and where your actions reflect your values and ambitions at every turn. This is the life that disciplined practice makes possible, because every small decision to act, focus, and persevere compounds into measurable progress, tangible results, and a growing sense of confidence, competence, and self-respect. Discipline also strengthens character, resilience, and patience, because it teaches you to navigate discomfort, delay gratification, and push through resistance, while simultaneously reinforcing the understanding that growth is rarely instantaneous, and that meaningful achievement is the result of sustained effort over time. To truly love yourself enough to level up, you must embrace discipline as a daily practice, not as a temporary strategy, because self-discipline is both the vehicle for transformation and a reflection of your commitment to your own potential, demonstrating that you are willing to prioritize your growth, honor your vision, and take consistent action even when it is difficult, inconvenient, or uncomfortable. This chapter is an invitation to commit to disciplined action in every area of your life, to design routines, habits, and systems that reinforce your goals, and to embrace consistency as a path to mastery, resilience, and self-respect, understanding that each act of discipline, no matter how small, strengthens your capacity to achieve, your confidence to persevere, and your ability to create the life you desire, because true self-love is reflected in the daily choices you make, the effort you sustain, and the commitment you uphold to yourself and your vision, and it is through this consistent, intentional action that you level up, transform your life, and embody the person you were always meant to become. Chapter 9: Mindset is the invisible lens through which you perceive the world, interpret experiences, and determine your capacity to grow. And developing a growth-oriented, empowering mindset is central to loving yourself enough to level up, because your thoughts, beliefs, and internal dialogue dictate your choices, actions, and ultimately the trajectory of your life. And until you cultivate a mindset that supports your potential rather than limits it, even your greatest efforts may fall short of achieving the results you desire. Every success, every failure, every challenge, and every opportunity is filtered through your mindset, shaping how you respond, how you persist, and how you interpret both victories and setbacks. And when you adopt a mindset that embraces possibility, resilience, and self-belief, you create the mental foundation necessary to pursue ambitious goals, navigate adversity, and unlock the highest levels of your potential. Loving yourself enough to cultivate an empowering mindset means becoming aware of your habitual thoughts, questioning beliefs that are self-limiting, and intentionally replacing patterns of doubt, fear, and negativity with thoughts that affirm your capability, your worth, and your ability to rise above obstacles, because self-awareness paired with conscious thought management is the key to transforming internal resistance into a source of strength and motivation. Consider the way your mind often reinforces old narratives, beliefs that you are not enough, that success is unattainable, or that you are destined to repeat the same mistakes. And recognize that these narratives are not absolute truths, but habits of thought that can be reprogrammed with consistent practice, deliberate focus, and the courage to challenge assumptions, because every belief you hold has the power to either empower or limit you, and the moment you take control of your inner dialogue, you begin to shift your reality. A growth mindset requires embracing challenges as opportunities to learn rather than threats to your competence, viewing criticism as a tool for refinement rather than a personal attack, and persisting in the face of obstacles rather than surrendering to self-doubt, because the quality of your mindset determines the level of resilience, adaptability, and perseverance you bring to every situation, and these qualities are essential for leveling up in any area of life. Loving yourself enough to nurture your mindset also involves surrounding yourself with inputs that inspire, educate, and elevate you, whether that be books, mentors, thought leaders, or supportive peers, because the energy you absorb and the perspectives you engage with have a profound impact on how your mind interprets possibility, shapes expectation, and envisions your potential. And intentional exposure to growth-oriented influences reinforces empowering patterns of thought. Cultivating a positive and resilient mindset also means acknowledging setbacks, failures, and negative emotions without letting them define you, understanding that challenges are temporary, learning opportunities, and catalysts for growth, and that your response to adversity is far more important than the adversity itself, because mindset shapes perception, and perception shapes action. Imagine approaching each day with a mindset that believes in your ability to grow, your capacity to learn, and your inherent worth, a mindset that seeks solutions rather than dwelling on problems, that focuses on possibilities rather than limitations, and that frames every difficulty as a lesson in strength, creativity, and resilience. This mindset transforms not only your internal experience, but also the external outcomes you are able to achieve, because your thoughts directly influence the energy you project, the choices you make, and the opportunities you pursue. Developing a mindset that supports leveling up requires consistent practice, reflection, and self-discipline, because old thought patterns resist change, and only through repetition, intentional focus, and conscious engagement can new neural pathways form that reinforce belief, confidence, and growth-oriented behavior, ultimately making empowerment and self-love an automatic part of your daily experience. Loving yourself enough to cultivate this mindset is ultimately an act of radical self-respect, because it signals that you refuse to accept limitation, that you are committed to your personal growth, and that you are willing to do the internal work necessary to become the person you were always meant to be, capable of achieving your goals and handling adversity, and living a life that reflects your highest potential. This chapter is an invitation to observe your thoughts, challenge self-limiting beliefs, embrace growth in every experience, and intentionally cultivate a mindset that empowers you to take bold action, persist through challenges, and create the life you desire, understanding that every thought you nurture, every perspective you adopt, and every belief you reinforce contributes to the trajectory of your life, and that by consciously shaping your mindset, you are not only leveling up externally, but also honoring yourself, reinforcing your self-worth, and stepping fully into your power as a capable, resilient, and empowered individual. Chapter 10: Confidence is the cornerstone of personal growth and empowerment, and cultivating it is essential to loving yourself enough to level up, because the way you perceive your own worth, ability, and potential shapes every decision you make, every opportunity you pursue, and every challenge you face. And without confidence, even the clearest vision and most ambitious goals can be undermined by hesitation, self-doubt, or fear of failure, whereas with confidence, your energy aligns with your intentions, your actions reflect your commitment, and your resilience strengthens in the face of adversity. True confidence is not arrogance or an inflated sense of self. It is a deep, unwavering belief in your capabilities, the result of consistent effort, practice, and recognition of your achievements, and it is rooted in the understanding that you are deserving of success, fulfillment, and happiness, regardless of external validation or temporary setbacks. Loving yourself enough to build confidence involves acknowledging your strengths, celebrating your progress, and reframing your perception of mistakes and failures as opportunities to learn, grow, and strengthen your skill set, because each challenge you overcome adds to your sense of competence, self-trust, and inner security, reinforcing the belief that you are capable of navigating any situation with clarity, composure, and resourcefulness. Confidence grows when you consistently take deliberate action, especially in areas that stretch your abilities and push you outside of comfort zones, because every successful step forward reinforces the narrative that you are resilient, adaptable, and capable, and over time, these cumulative experiences create a mental framework in which self-doubt has less influence, and proactive, empowered behavior becomes natural. Developing confidence also requires facing the inner critic that often sabotages your progress, the voice that questions your worth, amplifies fear, and magnifies potential failures, because when you learn to recognize this inner dialogue, challenge its assumptions, and replace it with affirmations of capability and self-worth, you gradually rewire your thought patterns, strengthening belief in your own abilities and reinforcing a mindset that supports action, growth, and achievement. Confidence is further enhanced by preparation, skill development, and consistency, because competence fuels assurance. And when you invest time in learning, practicing, and refining your abilities, your belief in your capacity to succeed becomes grounded in evidence and experience rather than wishful thinking. And this grounded confidence allows you to approach opportunities and challenges with poise, focus, and determination. Loving yourself enough to cultivate confidence also involves embracing authenticity and self-acceptance, recognizing that your value is inherent and not contingent upon comparison with others, perfection, or external accolades, and that stepping into your power means honoring your individuality, trusting your instincts, and asserting your voice in alignment with your principles and goals. Imagine approaching each day with a mindset of capability, resilience, and self-assurance, where decisions are made with clarity rather than hesitation, risks are taken with courage rather than fear, and actions reflect the highest vision of yourself rather than limiting beliefs. And consider how this level of confidence transforms not only your personal achievements, but also your interactions, relationships, and perception by others, because energy, attitude, and self-belief are deeply influential in the way you are received and the opportunities you attract. Confidence also requires patience and practice, because it is cultivated through repeated experiences of success, reflection, and growth, and it strengthens each time you navigate discomfort, recover from setbacks, and act in alignment with your values despite fear or uncertainty, creating a self-reinforcing cycle in which achievement builds belief, belief drives action, and action produces further achievement. To truly level up, confidence must be paired with humility, self-awareness, and the willingness to learn, because overconfidence without introspection can lead to arrogance, missteps, or stagnation, whereas balanced confidence integrates competence with curiosity, resilience with reflection, and ambition with self-respect, resulting in sustainable growth, empowered decision-making, and lasting achievement. This chapter is an invitation to embrace the practice of cultivating confidence through action, reflection, skill development, and self-acceptance. understanding that every choice to act despite fear, every recognition of your abilities, and every step outside your comfort zone reinforces your belief in yourself, strengthens your resilience, and expands your capacity to level up, because confidence is not simply an external trait, but an internal state that empowers you to live fully, act decisively, and claim the life you were always meant to create, reflecting not only your potential, but also your commitment to self-love, growth, and personal mastery. Chapter 11: Patience is one of the most underrated yet essential qualities for personal growth and leveling up, and learning to cultivate is a profound expression of loving yourself enough to trust the journey, because growth, transformation, and success rarely happen overnight, and the ability to remain steady, focused, and committed while navigating the inevitable delays, obstacles, and uncertainties is what separates those who achieve lasting results from those who give up prematurely, allowing frustration or impatience to dictate their actions and outcomes. Patience is not passive waiting, it is active persistence, a deliberate choice to continue moving forward with consistent effort, mindful reflection, and faith in your abilities, even when immediate results are not visible or external validation is absent, and it requires a deep understanding that the process itself, including the small, incremental steps, is where growth and mastery occur. Loving yourself enough to embrace patience means acknowledging that your timeline does not need to mirror anyone else's. That comparison often fuels unnecessary pressure and anxiety, and that every individual's journey unfolds uniquely, influenced by circumstances, learning experiences, and opportunities, and that trusting this process is a form of self-respect that reinforces your commitment to long-term growth over instant gratification. Consider how many times impatience has led you to make decisions out of frustration, to abandon projects, to skip essential steps, or to underestimate the value of gradual, steady progress. And now imagine replacing that reactive tendency with the awareness that deliberate, consistent effort compounded over time creates exponential results, and that enduring setbacks and challenges with calm resilience strengthens both skill and character. Patience also nurtures emotional intelligence because it teaches you to regulate impulses, manage expectations, and respond to setbacks thoughtfully, rather than reacting hastily or emotionally, and this composure enhances decision-making, relationships, and overall effectiveness in every area of life. To level up, patience must be paired with discipline and consistency, because maintaining effort in the absence of immediate rewards requires both the mental strength to persist and the commitment to show up daily, even when motivation fluctuates, and this combination of patience and discipline forms the backbone of sustainable progress, resilience, and self-mastery. Loving yourself enough to cultivate patience also involves reframing delays, challenges, and obstacles as opportunities for growth, reflection, and preparation, because the moments that test your patience often contain lessons that accelerate your development, reveal your resilience, and equip you with skills that will serve you when opportunities finally manifest. And understanding this transforms patience from a passive state into a powerful strategy for personal advancement. Imagine approaching your goals with the mindset that every setback is temporary, every challenge is a chance to strengthen your capabilities, and every moment of waiting or incremental progress is a necessary part of building lasting success. This mindset not only reduces stress and frustration, but also enhances focus, clarity, and self-confidence, because it emphasizes process over immediate results, quality over speed, and growth over superficial achievement. Patience also reinforces self-trust because by committing to the process, showing up consistently, and resisting the urge to abandon your goals when results are delayed, you prove to yourself that you are capable of perseverance, commitment, and endurance, which strengthens your belief in your ability to navigate life's challenges with grace and tenacity. Loving yourself enough to practice patience extends to all areas of life. including personal relationships, career development, health, and skill acquisition, because growth in any domain requires time, consistent effort, and the willingness to endure discomfort or uncertainty without abandoning progress, and each act of patient persistence compounds to create measurable, meaningful transformation over time. Furthermore, patience nurtures gratitude and perspective because it allows you to appreciate the incremental achievements, lessons learned, and growth experienced along the way, rather than focusing solely on the end result. And this appreciation reinforces motivation, reduces unnecessary fuss, and aligns your energy with the trajectory of your highest potential. This chapter is an invitation to embrace patience as an active, deliberate practice, to trust the process of growth, to remain consistent in effort even when progress seems slow, and to reframe obstacles and delays as opportunities for learning, skill development, and resilience, understanding that true leveling up is not achieved through haste or impulsive action, but through consistent, intentional, and patient effort, and that by cultivating patience, you are not only strengthening your ability to achieve your goals, but also demonstrating profound self-love, reinforcing your self-respect, and building the emotional, mental, and strategic foundation necessary to create a life of sustained growth, fulfillment, and empowerment. Chapter 12: Vision is the compass that guides every step of your journey, and cultivating a clear, compelling vision is essential to loving yourself enough to level up, because without a defined direction, your efforts can become scattered, your focus diluted, and your potential unrealized, whereas a strong vision aligns your thoughts, actions, and decisions with your highest aspirations, providing clarity, motivation, and the confidence to pursue goals that truly matter, even when challenges arise or the path feels uncertain. Loving yourself enough to develop a powerful vision requires introspection, honesty, and courage, because it demands that you identify what you truly want in life, separate it from external expectations, societal pressures, or comparisons, and embrace a future that reflects your values, passions, and unique purpose, recognizing that a vision rooted in authenticity has the power to inspire action, fuel resilience, and sustain momentum over time. A clear vision provides both direction and perspective, allowing you to prioritize actions that advance your goals and make intentional choices about how you invest your time, energy, and resources. Because clarity about what matters most creates the framework for consistent decision-making and reduces the influence of distraction, doubt, or reactive behavior that can derail progress. Loving yourself enough to embrace vision also involves imagining the life you desire in vivid detail, picturing the accomplishments, experiences, relationships, and personal growth you aspire to achieve, and feeling the emotions associated with that reality as if it were already unfolding, because this emotional engagement strengthens commitment, increases motivation, and transforms abstract goals into tangible targets that guide your daily actions. Developing vision also requires acknowledging current realities, understanding where you are starting from, and assessing the steps, resources, and skills required to move toward your aspirations, because a vision without actionable planning is merely wishful thinking, whereas a vision grounded in reality, combined with strategic planning, becomes a roadmap that empowers consistent progress, measurable growth, and self-confidence. Loving yourself enough to maintain vision during challenges means cultivating resilience and adaptability, because obstacles, setbacks, and unexpected changes are inevitable, and your ability to remain focused on your vision while adjusting strategies as needed ensures that temporary difficulties do not derail your long-term trajectory, but instead become opportunities for learning, refinement, and strengthening of commitment. Vision also strengthens decision-making, because when your goals and desired outcomes are clearly defined, every choice can be evaluated against whether it moves you closer to or further away from the life you want, reducing wasted effort and increasing alignment between actions and aspirations. and this alignment reinforces self-trust, accountability, and clarity of purpose. Cultivating vision is also an exercise in self-respect, because it requires you to acknowledge that your dreams, potential, and fulfillment matter, and that investing time, energy, and focus into a life that reflects your highest values is not selfish, but an essential act of honoring yourself and your unique contribution to the world. Imagine living each day guided by a vision that excites you, challenges you, and inspires you to grow, where decisions are made intentionally, actions are consistent, and setbacks are viewed as temporary detours rather than permanent obstacles. And consider how this clarity transforms not only your results, but also your mindset, confidence, and sense of purpose, because when your vision is strong and compelling, every step taken is infused with meaning, direction, and energy that propels you forward. Loving yourself enough to cultivate and maintain vision also requires patience, because achieving meaningful goals and realizing your highest potential is a process that unfolds over time, and the ability to remain committed, adaptable, and focused despite delays or difficulties strengthens resilience, self-discipline, and confidence in your ability to shape your life intentionally. Vision inspires action, fuels perseverance, and enhances problem solving, because when you are deeply connected to your desired outcome, obstacles become challenges to overcome rather than reasons to give up, and each step forward, no matter how small, reinforces momentum, self-belief, and clarity of purpose. This chapter is an invitation to create a vivid, authentic vision for your life, to engage with it daily through reflection, planning, and emotional connection, and to use it as the guiding force for every decision, habit, and action, understanding that a strong vision is not only a roadmap to success, but a reflection of self-love, clarity, and commitment to your highest potential, and that by nurturing and aligning with your vision, you are empowering yourself to level up, transform your life, and embody the person you were always meant to become, capable of achieving meaningful growth, fulfillment, and purpose. Chapter 13: Boundaries are essential tools for personal growth, self-respect, and emotional well-being, and understanding how to set and maintain them is a vital component of loving yourself enough to level up, because without clear boundaries, your energy, time, and focus can be drained by demands, distractions, and influences that do not serve your highest good, leaving you depleted, frustrated, and unable to pursue the goals and growth you desire, whereas well-defined boundaries protect your resources, reinforce your self-worth, and create the mental and emotional space necessary for consistent progress and fulfillment. Loving yourself enough to establish boundaries requires clarity about your values, priorities, and limits, because only when you know what is acceptable, beneficial, or aligned with your purpose can you assertively communicate those limits to others and make decisions that safeguard your well-being and personal growth. Boundaries are not about rejection or isolation, they are about protection, clarity, and alignment, allowing you to engage fully and authentically with relationships, opportunities, and responsibilities that support your goals, while politely declining or redirecting what is misaligned, distracting, or draining. Consider how often people compromise their priorities, tolerate disrespect, or overextend themselves in ways that hinder their progress, simply because they fear confrontation, judgment, or disappointment. And now imagine the empowerment that comes from defining what you will accept, how you will allocate your time and energy, and the standards by which you allow others to engage with you. This clarity creates confidence, focus, and freedom, and it becomes a declaration of self-respect and self-love. Loving yourself enough to maintain boundaries also means being consistent and firm, because inconsistency communicates uncertainty or allows external pressures to override your priorities, and each act of reinforcement strengthens both your credibility and your inner resolve, demonstrating to yourself and others that your needs, goals, and well-being are a priority. Boundaries foster healthier relationships because they set expectations, encourage mutual respect, and prevent resentment, burnout, or emotional depletion, allowing you to give authentically without overextending or sacrificing your growth. And they also create space for reflection, creativity, and personal development because your energy is preserved for pursuits that truly matter and align with your highest vision. Establishing boundaries requires courage, particularly in situations where others may resist, criticize, or push back, because asserting your limits can feel uncomfortable, unfamiliar, or even confrontational, but the long-term benefits of protecting your energy, reinforcing self-respect, and creating space for growth far outweigh the temporary discomfort of boundary setting. And each act of courage strengthens your ability to honor yourself and your goals consistently. Loving yourself enough to create boundaries also involves recognizing and addressing internal resistance, because feelings of guilt, obligation, or fear of conflict often emerge when you prioritize your own needs. And working through these feelings with self-compassion reinforces the understanding that taking care of yourself is not selfish, but essential to sustaining growth, resilience, and personal empowerment. Boundaries are particularly important in managing how you engage with technology, work, social interactions, and commitments, because these areas can easily consume time, attention, and energy if left unregulated. And by proactively defining limits on availability, responsibilities, and interactions, you create a framework that prioritizes your goals, focus, and well-being, allowing you to operate at your highest potential. Imagine approaching every day with clearly defined parameters, knowing what is acceptable, what serves your growth, and what must be protected, and feeling the freedom, confidence, and empowerment that comes from living in alignment with your priorities, because boundaries create structure, reduce unnecessary stress, and enable you to engage fully with your goals, relationships, and opportunities in ways that reinforce self-love, clarity, and intentionality. This chapter is an invitation to examine your current boundaries, identify areas where limits are needed, and implement consistent, respectful, and empowering boundaries that protect your time, energy, and growth. Understanding that each boundary is not only a practical tool, but also a reflection of self-respect, a reinforcement of personal vision, and a declaration that your well-being matters, because by mastering the art of boundary setting, you are creating the space, clarity, and mental strength necessary to level up, achieve your goals, and embody the empowered, self-loving individual you were always meant to become, capable of sustaining growth, navigating challenges, and creating a life of alignment, fulfillment, and purpose. Chapter 14: Consistency is the quiet yet powerful force that transforms intention into achievement, and understanding its role is crucial to loving yourself enough to level up, because without consistent action, even the clearest goals, the strongest motivation, and the highest level of vision remain unrealized, scattered, or delayed, whereas repeated, deliberate, and focused effort compounds over time, creating momentum, mastery, and measurable results. And it is this steady rhythm of action that separates those who achieve their full potential from those who fall short despite ambition and desire. Loving yourself enough to cultivate consistency requires recognizing the importance of showing up for yourself daily, even when motivation is low, distractions are abundant, or immediate results are not visible, because each small, deliberate step forward reinforces habits, strengthens self-discipline, and communicates to yourself that your goals, growth, and potential are worth the investment of time and energy. Consistency is not about perfection or rigid adherence to a plan. It is about commitment, resilience, and persistence, understanding that setbacks, mistakes, or interruptions are inevitable. But what matters most is returning to the path with renewed focus, learning from challenges, and maintaining momentum over the long term, because sustainable growth is a marathon, not a sprint. Consider how many times inconsistency has slowed progress, diminished confidence, or created frustration in your life. And now imagine approaching your journey with the mindset that every day, every action, and every choice is an opportunity to reinforce your commitment to yourself, your vision, and your highest potential. And that through this steady, repeated engagement, even small efforts compound into remarkable transformation over time. Loving yourself enough to embrace consistency also involves designing systems, routines, and structures that support sustained action, because intentional planning, accountability, and organization reduce reliance on fleeting motivation, minimize wasted energy, and make it easier to show up daily in alignment with your goals and values, transforming action from effortful to natural and habitual. Consistency strengthens confidence and self-trust, because each successful repetition reinforces the belief that you are capable, reliable, and committed, and over time, this internal trust fuels further action, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of growth, achievement, and resilience, where progress becomes inevitable as long as you continue to engage with purpose and focus. It also enhances skill development, mastery, because repeated practice is how expertise is built, habits are solidified, and understanding deepens. And when your actions are consistent, your learning and growth accelerate, giving you the ability to tackle increasingly complex challenges and pursue higher levels of achievement with confidence. Loving yourself enough to maintain consistency requires patience, because results are rarely immediate, and the ability to stay committed despite delayed gratification is both a test and an expression of self-respect, demonstrating that you value the long-term outcomes over temporary comfort or avoidance. Furthermore, consistency fosters resilience, because navigating the ups and downs of progress, adjusting strategies when necessary, and recommitting after setbacks strengthens both mental fortitude and emotional stability, ensuring that challenges do not derail your trajectory, but rather become opportunities for reinforcement and refinement. Imagine living each day guided by the principle of consistent action, where your habits, decisions, and behaviors align with your goals, values, and vision, and where even on difficult days, you show up, take small steps forward, and maintain focus, knowing that these seemingly small efforts are building the foundation for extraordinary results, long-term growth, and sustained fulfillment. Loving yourself enough to cultivate consistency also involves celebrating progress, acknowledging effort, and honoring your commitment to growth, because recognition of achievement reinforces positive behavior, motivates further action, and strengthens the internal feedback loop that sustains long-term engagement and self-respect. This chapter is an invitation to embrace consistency as a fundamental practice, to commit to daily, intentional action, to design systems and routines that support steady progress, and to approach every setback, distraction, or challenge as an opportunity to reinforce your dedication, understanding that through persistent, repeated effort, you are not only leveling up in tangible outcomes, but also cultivating discipline, resilience, confidence, and self-trust, and that each moment of commitment is a declaration of self-love, a reinforcement of your worth, and a step toward the life you were always meant to create, one that reflects your highest potential, your values, and your unwavering dedication to growth, achievement, and personal mastery. Chapter 15: Gratitude is the transformative force that shifts perception, fuels positivity, and amplifies personal growth, and embracing it fully is essential to loving yourself enough to level up, because the way you recognize and appreciate what you have, what you are learning, and who you are becoming shapes not only your mindset, but also your actions, relationships, and overall life experience. And when practiced consistently, gratitude fosters resilience, optimism, and clarity, allowing you to navigate challenges with a sense of purpose and maintain momentum toward your goals, even when circumstances are difficult or uncertain. Loving yourself enough to cultivate gratitude means intentionally focusing on the abundance in your life rather than the scarcity, acknowledging both small and significant achievements and recognizing the lessons, growth, and opportunities embedded in every experience. Because this practice strengthens your emotional foundation, reinforces self-worth, and reminds you that every step forward, no matter how incremental, is a reflection of your effort, courage, and commitment to your personal development. Gratitude also rewires the brain, shifting attention away from negativity, comparison, and judgment, and toward appreciation, perspective, and abundance. And this shift in focus enhances motivation, creativity, and problem solving, because when your mind recognizes the value in what already exists, it becomes easier to identify opportunities, act with intention, and sustain the energy required to pursue ambitious goals. Loving yourself enough to engage in gratitude requires consistent reflection, because true appreciation is not superficial or fleeting. It involves taking deliberate time to acknowledge daily wins, personal strengths, supportive relationships, and lessons learned from challenges, recognizing that each element contributes to your growth, happiness, and ability to level up, and that mindfulness in appreciation reinforces both internal stability and external effectiveness. Gratitude also fosters stronger relationships, because acknowledging the contributions, support, and kindness of others cultivates connection, trust, and reciprocity, and when practiced authentically, it strengthens bonds, encourages collaboration, and creates a supportive environment where collective growth is amplified, showing that self-love extends outward into the way you engage with the world. To level up, gratitude must be paired with action, because recognizing the value in your life without translating it into forward momentum risks complacency, whereas acknowledging what you are grateful for provides motivation, inspiration, and clarity, guiding choices and behaviors that continue to build upon your foundation of growth, skill, and self-respect. Loving yourself enough to integrate gratitude into daily life also involves reframing challenges as opportunities for learning and perspective, because even setbacks, failures, or difficult circumstances carry lessons that, when recognized, enhance resilience, wisdom, and long-term progress. And by maintaining this mindset, you transform adversity into a catalyst for personal and professional development, turning obstacles into stepping stones that propel you forward. Imagine approaching every day with intentional awareness of what is present, what has been accomplished, and what lessons are available, where even small moments of appreciation fuel your energy, sustain motivation, and reinforce self-belief. Because gratitude does not diminish ambition, rather it magnifies your capacity to pursue goals with clarity, confidence, and grounded optimism. Gratitude also enhances mental and physical health, because recognizing positive elements reduces stress, anxiety, and emotional fatigue, increases resilience, and improves overall well-being, creating the ideal environment for sustained growth, consistent action, and personal mastery. And this foundation allows you to tackle challenges with composure, creativity, and confidence, knowing that your mindset and energy are aligned with your highest potential. Loving yourself enough to cultivate gratitude is ultimately an act of empowerment, because it communicates to yourself and the universe that you acknowledge your worth, appreciate your journey, and honor the process of growth and transformation. And this acknowledgement reinforces confidence, discipline, resilience, and clarity, amplifying the results of every other practice, habit, and mindset cultivated throughout your leveling up journey. This chapter is an invitation to practice gratitude as a daily, intentional discipline, to recognize and celebrate accomplishments, strengths, and lessons, and to allow this mindset to shape your perception, actions, and interactions, understanding that each expression of appreciation not only elevates your own experience, but also enhances your ability to create meaningful relationships, pursue ambitious goals, and sustain growth over time, because gratitude is not just an emotional response. It is a deliberate, empowering choice that strengthens self-love, amplifies personal development, and ultimately ensures that the life you are building is aligned with your highest potential, your values, and your commitment to becoming the person you were always meant to be, capable of leveling up, thriving, and living fully with purpose, joy, and intentionality.